Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be doing kind of like a recent purchases, hits and misses videos. So usually I get quite a few people asking me what do I think about the items that I've purchased recently, and up until now I don't really talk about them unless it's like at the end of the year for like a best and worst purchases video, or I do like a dedicated review on it, which is usually more for handbags. Sometimes I do try to give first impressions, but they're not always accurate. So yeah, I hope this video is interesting for you guys. I hope it's helpful if you're considering these items yourself. And yeah, let's get into this video. Okay, so luckily most of what I purchased recently are hits. There's only 2 misses, and I wouldn't even quite consider them total misses. I'll get to that later on in this video, but first let's talk about the hits. And I first want to talk about these 2 card holders that I purchased from Chanel recently. Both of these are in caviar. This one is in their classic flap style, and this is the typical flat card holder. And up until I bought these 2 card holders, all the SOGs that I owned from Chanel were in lambskin. And although I really love my lambskin SOGs because yeah, I just love lambskin in general, I've been really enjoying these because they're the perfect in between. When I don't want to use something that's as delicate as lambskin, but I don't want to use my Louis Vuitton canvas SOGs, I can use these. Yeah, I feel like these are plenty durable as is, and since I've been using these, I don't really touch my Louis Vuitton SOGs anymore. So I do have an entire video where I go into way more detail comparing these 2 card holders along with a third one from Chanel, the zipped card holder. So if you're interested to hear about the pros and cons of these card holders and also see how they fit into like a mini size bag, then I'll leave that linked up here. But yeah, without being too redundant in this video, I do really like these 2 card holders. The flat style is still my favorite out of the bunch just because it fits into all my bags with so much room to spare. But yeah, both of these have been very well loved. And next I want to talk about this Dior Rose Davan necklace that I got over Christmas last year. So it's this necklace right here. It has the onyx stone in the center along with these 2 little diamonds on the 2 sides, and yeah, I can already tell that one of them is flipped over right now, which happens a lot. And then this necklace is in rose gold. So I've been really enjoying wearing this necklace layered with this Sweet Alhambra necklace that I have on right now. Actually, I'm going to just put this necklace back on now. So this is what the necklace looks like when it's on, layered with my Sweet Alhambra pendant from Van Cleef & Arpels in the white mother of pearl. So I've been layering the 2 necklaces like this really often because I like the contrast between the dark and light, and Dior actually does make a lot of their Rose Davan's collection with these 2 stones in one single piece. So they have like earrings, there's like a bracelet. I'm not sure if they have necklaces with these 2 in one. Actually, no, they do. They have this sun and moon double-sided necklace. One side is onyx and one side is mother of pearl. So this is a really nice combination. I really like wearing it together. And this necklace, the Rose Davan's one, I really like that it's a little bit longer than all my other necklaces. So it's great for layering. This one, I usually do wear it longer than all my other necklaces. The only thing that I have to mention is that because this necklace is quite light, you know, it's a really dainty necklace, even though it sits lower than my other necklaces, over time it will start creeping up more so than some of the heavier necklaces that I wear a little bit higher than it. So eventually it does creep up so that it's kind of like sitting at the same height. It doesn't really bother me that much because over time all my necklaces just kind of end up sliding upwards anyway. So yeah, when you're wearing a necklace, it's never going to look as nice as when you completely straighten it and fix it. So yeah, that doesn't really bother me. These diamonds flipping over don't really bother me either. I just think it's a really nice necklace to layer with. Unfortunately, Dior doesn't have, you know, like the greatest resale value for their fine jewelry, but this is not something that I ever intend on selling anyway. So yeah, I really like that this is quite unique compared to, for example, the Sweet Alhambra pendant that I have from Van Cleef & Arpels. This one is definitely, I feel like, everyone kind of has one on social media, but this Dior one is just so much more unique and I do really recommend it. Another recent purchase that I've really been enjoying is this mini with handle in the light pink color from Chanel. So this is my most recent handbag purchase and I've already used it quite a few times, and I know that I'm going to use it so much more once it warms up. Quite a few people have asked me if I prefer this over my mini reissues, and I have to say that in terms of the style of the bag itself, I do prefer the shape and the look of this more. But when I think about like holistically every factor of what makes a bag perfect for me in my eyes, I would say that the mini reissue is still my favorite because it's just so carefree and it's kind of hard to beat that. But yeah, that doesn't mean that I don't like this bag. I really do like this too. I like how you get this top handle, which makes it so convenient to just pick it up and go. You know, it's so easy to just grab it by the top handle, whereas especially with the mini styles from Chanel, the chains do tend to slide in through the grommets because there's not that double flap kind of holding it in place. So yeah, that kind of does irk me a little bit when I pick up the bag. There's just kind of like unnecessary noise, and yeah, I can't quite explain it, but it's not the most convenient in my opinion. And this bag, you do get this chain strap that comes with it, which is typical for almost all Chanel bags, but like I mentioned, it doesn't attach through the grommets. Instead, it attaches onto the top handle. It might be an unpopular opinion, but I kind of almost prefer this because I can just put the strap inside the bag if I don't foresee that I'll have to use the strap that day. I mean, it's kind of something that I have to commit to because once I put the strap in the bag, it's sitting underneath all my stuff. Aside from that though, even if it's hanging, I think it looks quite nice. There's something really nice about this thin chain on this mini with handle. Something about it just, I feel like it makes it sparkle more. So yeah, I really like that even if it's just hanging. So yeah, I'm so glad that I finally have this bag. I would say that on the flip side, the biggest con to this is when I'm opening this, I tend to kind of push against this handle a little bit when I open it just to get it a little bit wider. I'm used to being able to do that because on my Celine belt bag, the handle is attached a little bit differently, and the handle is also a little bit more malleable, so I can do it with that. But this, I just have to kind of learn to treat it a little bit differently. So yeah, there's a little bit of a learning curve there, but aside from that, there's not much more negative stuff to say about this. I really like it, and yeah, I do think that I like the style more than the mini rectangular too. So the last item in my hits category is somewhat of a surprise because it was an impulse purchase, and a lot of times impulse purchases don't really work out for me, unfortunately. I've kind of learned my lesson on that, but yeah, I still do end up making impulse purchases sometimes, but luckily this item was a hit. So this belt is from Dior, and right now it just looks like this giant heap of leather because it's two belts in one sort of. It's like two layers. I think it's officially called the 30 Montane double belt or Dior double belt. So this was a seasonal release. I think it was released in spring of 2020 or fall of 2020, and then it went on their sale in December of 2021, which is when I picked it up for, I think it was 50% off or something like that. It was still quite pricey even after the discount. So yeah, if it didn't work out, this would definitely be one of my worst purchases ever. But surprisingly, I really like this belt. It doesn't look like much like this, so I'm definitely going to have to show clips of me wearing this, but essentially it's two belts in one, and one piece is kind of like this braided look to it, and then the other one is just a simple piece of leather. And I just really like how this kind of makes me look more fashionable. Usually you have very simple belts that's just a simple piece of leather across, and this just adds a little bit more character to your outfit. And I have a bunch of longer cardigans that I didn't really wear anymore, and with this belt I was able to kind of restyle those cardigans and kind of make use of them again. So yeah, I've been really liking this belt, and a few people have asked me if they're still able to pick this belt up, and from what I gather, once the sale ends, even if they have stock left over, they wouldn't be actively selling it. So maybe you could potentially find these at the Dior outlets. I know in the US they have a Dior outlet in Woodbury Commons, which is in New York. So maybe you could find the number and give them a call if you're interested in this. But aside from that, I have seen something that is very similar from Polen. It's not quite the same because both pieces of the Polen belt is just a simple piece of leather. It doesn't have this braided piece. But aside from that, it is much cheaper than this belt is. And yeah, it is a similar enough look. So I'll have that link down below for you guys. But yeah, I would highly recommend the style, even if it's not this one. I think Isabel Marant also does something really similar, but that one might be a little bit much in my opinion. But yeah, do check out the Polen one if you like the look of this. Alright, so moving on to the misses category, and as I mentioned, these two items are not complete fails, not complete duds, but I would have to categorize them in the misses category because based off my experience of using these two items so far, they just kind of missed the mark. So the first item is this vanity case that I purchased from Chanel. So I would say that the biggest reason it is in this misses category is just because I haven't been using this how I foresee using it in the future. You know, the purpose that I purchased this bag, aside from the fact that it is so super adorable, the other reason that I bought this was I intend on using this for kind of like special occasions like date nights or weddings where I don't need to be like very efficient with handling my bag. So the reason that it's currently in the misses category is because I've been trying to get use out of this by using it as kind of like a really carefree sort of errand running bag, which this is not for me at least. I know that some people really like using their tiny micro bags, for example when they're going on like a grocery run or something like that. They really don't need to carry a big bag. But for me, the reason that this doesn't work as like a carefree bag is because of the zippers. It just is not convenient to use for me personally, and it's made me realize that I am just not a big fan of bags that have zippers. I know people feel differently. I know one of my friends actually really doesn't like bags that have a flap opening because they find that inconvenient. For me, I don't like having to open and close a zipper every single time, especially because with this tiny little bag, every time I open it, when I go to close it up, I have to rearrange everything inside. So yeah, it's just not convenient for me, and I don't know why it took me so long to come to this realization, because I realized that there's a pattern in how I use my bags. All the bags that I've owned in the past that had zippers, I never ever closed them up. And it's kind of funny because I lived in New York City for so long prior to moving into New Jersey, and when I lived in New York City, I would just have my tote bags and everything open. I never zipped them up. It's funny that I never got pickpocketed, and even with my Celine belt bag, I don't actually use the zipper. There is the zipper as well as the flap. So I just close the flap and that's it. I don't know why it took me so long to realize that I don't like zippers. So going forward, that's something that I will definitely keep in mind. But yeah, as I mentioned, for special occasions, I don't think I'm going to be bothered by it nearly as much, just because I don't have to be super efficient with handling this bag and opening and closing it. There are a few occasions that I do intend on using this for in the spring and summer. So yeah, hopefully my opinion on this does end up changing because this is quite pricey for such a tiny little bag. And the other item in the misses category is this belt from Dior. This is their 30 Montan reversible belt. So it's a thinner style of belt with one side of it being black and then the other side of it is white. And unlike the belt that was in my hits category, this purchase was actually planned. Prior to buying this belt, I owned a different 30 Montan belt from Dior that I ended up selling in anticipation of buying this belt because that one didn't work with my wardrobe and I thought this one would be a much better fit. Unfortunately, that is not the case and there's kind of two reasons for it. One of which might be remedied depending on what my sales associate comes back to me with. So yeah, let's talk about that issue first. So when I bought this belt, it was soon after Dior released it initially. And I guess they didn't realize that there was a major flaw in the design of this belt, which they have since changed. So I'll show a photo of what the belt looks like now. It comes with these two loops, one that is white and one that's black. And that's for you to secure the end of the belt in so it doesn't kind of like stick out. And without those loops, I basically can't wear this belt on the white side because the way that it's wrapped up, even when I first bought it, made it so that if I wore it on the white side, this wanted to curl outwards instead of laying flat against my body, and I would need that loop to kind of tuck this end into. The black side is better because it does kind of stay closer to my body, but still you really do need that loop. And it didn't occur to me how big of an issue this would be when I was trying it on before buying it. And actually when I unboxed this belt, I did a little try-on clip where I was showing how it looked like on the white side. And I had my arm against my waist during that try-on clip because otherwise it would stick straight out. So yeah, I kind of should have realized it at that point, but I kind of just shrugged it off. So yeah, I reached out to my sales associate to see if she could get me those two loops. Hopefully she is, and hopefully it would be free of charge because clearly this was a design flaw that Dior realized was an issue. And yeah, we'll see what she's able to do for me. But even aside from that, I do have another issue with this belt. And that is, I didn't realize that the contrast between the two sides would be an issue in terms of color transfer because I had intended on wearing this black side with dark color clothes and the white side with lighter color clothes. And yeah, the white side, you can wear it with whatever because the black is against your body. But when you're wearing the black side against dark color clothes, this white side would be against the clothes and it would rub against it and potentially cause color transfer. And yeah, I'm just really afraid of that. So I've only been wearing the black side with lighter color clothes. And like I mentioned, I can't even wear the white side anymore. So it is very, very limited right now. It's actually quite upsetting, but hopefully I can get those two loops for the belt. So at least I'll be able to wear it a little bit more. I will still have to be careful about color transfer though. And yeah, honestly, that just wasn't really an issue that I intended on having with this belt. So that is it for this video, letting you guys know which of my recent luxury purchases were hits and which were misses. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it somewhat helpful and informative. If you did, please do give this video a thumbs up and let me know in the comments down below if you like this type of format more than first impressions, if you find this a little bit more useful if you're considering these items. And also let me know if you would like me to do any in-depth reviews on any of these items that I shared in this video. I would definitely be more than happy to do those for you too. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do consider subscribing for new videos every single week on luxury and fashion. And I'll leave 2 videos on the screen for you to watch next. So I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.